He is the roguish hero at the center of the Star Wars story, loved by generations, misunderstood by generations. Oh, we're going to find out. Today is Han Solo Day. Blank is Why We Love Star Wars is our show here in ForceCenter. Hi, I'm Ken Napzok. Years ago, I wrote a book called Why We Love Star Wars. Decided to take that kind of approach and put it here to the podcast where we have a guest, we have a thing, a person, a movie, something in Star Wars they love, and we talk about it. Actually, they talk about it because it's their love. But today, we're doing Han Solo is Why We Love Star Wars, and as you all know, if you've been listening to ForceCenter for any length of time, I can't shut up about me being a Han Solo guy. But that has changed over the years too. But this isn't about my story. This is about our guest story. Alden Diaz is here. You might know him from Octo Radio and some future Star Wars projects I hope he unleashes on the world soon. And the show we have together, Anytime with Ken and Alden. Alden, welcome back to ForceCenter or on ForceCenter. I can't actually remember.
You know, I thought about it too, and I did a little bit of research, and by that I mean I looked at my phone, and I realized that we did a ranked together in the pre-pandemic days.
Okay.
Way back in the other reality.
Yeah.
And because it might as well be.
Might as well be.
That was when you and I communicated via Discord. We were more professional friends then.
Oh yeah.
Friends.
Yeah. We now we text about new Haley Williams singles. It's different. It's a different era. It's a different era.
It's true. And if you think that that's the only time that pop music will come up in this conversation, you got another thing coming because I got something in store. But yeah.
So I can't wait. I am a Han Solo guy. I have been since the early 80s, since I just fell in love with the idea of being like Han. Though later on in life, I realized I was like Han, and not in a good way, which made me love Han more because there was things for me to learn. But Alden, this is your journey. Han Solo is why you love Star Wars. Why? Where does it begin?
This character, to me personally, is the greatest fictional character maybe of all time. Okay. I think that there are arguments to be made for Batman, but this isn't Gotham Center. This is Force Center. And so we're gonna stay in the pocket and we're just gonna say he is. We're gonna nix all debate, nix all my internal voices saying, no, what about Jay Gatsby? No, it's Han Solo right now.
Okay. I was gonna say Indiana Jones is my favorite cinematic character, but it's also a weird Harrison Ford stew, so it's all the same.
Much closer, at least spiritually and visually, of course. Han is an interesting thing for me, how I come to him, because if you ask me what my bread and butter is in Star Wars and the stuff that I prefer the most, it's always Force lore, sword and sorcery, sabers, getting weird, and Rebels is my favorite of all of the installments. If you included it all and asked me to choose one show or film, I'm picking Rebels. A thing that Han Solo, ironically, does not appear in at all. He's not even referenced. You get Leia, you get Lando. You're in and around his life, but you're never actually interacting with him there. And I love a lot of Han-less stories. But despite being like a Jedi kid, it was, I think maybe, I'm 29 now at the time of recording this, probably a decade ago that I realized, that he's everything. Like, he's everything that I am. He's everything that I want to be. He's everything positive and negative, like lessons for us to gain. And as he has both aged and been de-aged with the Alden iteration that we'll also talk about, we've been presented with different stages that have different things to offer, which I think has been brilliant to see. And we'll get into some of that. But like, I think culturally, even though as a kid I was looking at my visual dictionaries and focusing on Anakin or whoever it was, Han was the one where I realized, like, all of Star Wars exists in him, even though he's not like an active magic user or anything. But a lot of the stuff that we hyperfixate on these days as a fandom, as a culture, of like, well, I want to see the story. You hear this a lot. I want to see the stories of the people that, aren't special or aren't everything. And it's like, well, he's that. It's like, I want to see the stories of found family, and if he's that too. I want to see scum and villainy. Well, he was the originator of the scum and the villainy. And it's like, people have their thoughts of, is there too much Skywalker saga? Is there not? You can litigate that somewhere else. But he is both essential to that, essential to different areas. And there's the Harrison of it all too. But I realized that like you touched on with yourself, sometimes we connect to the image he projects,
Mm-hmm.
and that's good. As a kid, it's awesome, and then as a teenager, it's like awesome, potentially problematic, and then as an adult, you're like, oh, it's a facade, and I have one too, and I think that
Yes.
he's in a lot of ways a
Yes.
monument to
Yeah.
sensitivity and change and admitting that you're
Mm-hmm.
wrong and
Mm-hmm.
listening to everyone, but in particular women, and listening
Yeah.
to valuing your friends and not being motivated by money, and like there's a lot of like
Yeah.
important life stuff that I find in him too. I'm rambling at this point. You were
No,
also there, Ken. You also saw Star Wars.
I did see Star Wars. No, I love this. Yeah, talking about the lessons. There is something I think pretty special when you, as a Han Solo fan, have that moment whenever it is in the journey, and I think it really emerges in the sequel trilogy and with Solo: A Star Wars Story, a movie you and I both love. And I love Most Wanted, the book that kind of is tied to that. That has some great Han stuff in there as well, wonderful Kira stuff. But when you learn, like, oh, this is a guy that has run away from all the voices inside his soul saying, you're better than this and you should do good. And he knows that about himself, but he keeps running away. And he runs away and he runs away. And his last act is to not run away, to turn around, and ends up sacrificing himself, as we say at ForceCenter, the cheek touch of compassion that saved the galaxy. But when you have that moment of like, yeah, I will, cool jacket, cool car, the great friend / dog, you get the girl, all these things that me as a, straight kid from the suburbs looked up to and wanted to be. And you realize, like that moment you said, oh, shit, it was a facade? Oh, God. And I'm the real Han? Oh, God. And it was such a powerful moment for me as a Star Wars fan during the Force Awakens era. But I'm curious here, I love our generational divide. You're jumping on the Han train with Tobias Beckett, Val, and Chewie, maybe a little bit later on. But you're jumping on the Han train in an era where the myth of Han is already well established.
Yes.
What was that? What was that like?
Well, it's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up. Much like I said, that Rebels is a Hanless story. I grew up when George was doing a Hanless trilogy.
Yeah.
We did surprisingly get Chewbacca in there at the end.
Yes.
But we know that any hope of Han was scrapped very early in the production concepts. That there was almost tiny little Mowgli Han in a Jungle Book type aesthetic of like being an orphan there, and they scrapped that whole backstory. And we now know what his backstory was, and we'll get to that as well. But it was, like you said, the mythology of Han was there. And part of that is I don't want to go all the way down this road. We only have so much time, but like it's the who shot first and all that is like culture at that point. George himself's already making fun of it, and had been. There's this whole element of badass and badassery and coolness that he becomes a face of, alongside characters. And when I list these characters, it's like he doesn't fit at all. It's like you think about like Rambo and John McClane and Neo and like these 80s and 90s action characters that he got thrown in with a lot. James Bond, even, who transcends many decades, but like he doesn't fit with any of those guys. And I didn't realize that at the time, but as time went on, I did. And it was just accepted that Han Solo is a badass. He's a cool cowboy. People had the basic beats of the arc. You would hear it a lot when it was especially boiled down to Campbell or whatever, of like, well, he's going to meet the old master. And then, there's always the rogue and like, he is.
He is.
But simplifying it to that had a long-term effect of people missing that he was more than that. Because George was always bending and messing with tropes. And it's easy to identify that in Leia. And it's easy to identify that in Vader. Because neither is classically fantasy in the way that they build off of. Yes, princess, damsel in distress, but then boom, she's not a damsel. There's your twist. Vader, big ghoul, skeletal imagery, phantom imagery, but oh wait, there's a man inside, and he can be turned. Nobody gave that credit to Han for years. Nobody talked about how did George mess with that one, and how he messed with that one was by giving you a guy that at every possible opportunity that he has, defaults to choosing friendship, even when he's kicking himself the entire time. He defaults to connection. He'll roll his eyes and he'll talk smack, and he acts like he doesn't care, but he's always gone there since the original film. And, and at the time we weren't having those conversations, and he was just a badass, but it was honestly my generation being so online so early that you would see social media posts, many of which had to do with another fantasy franchise, about a small wizard boy, we'll just say, because things have changed. And but in that, they would classify the characters the way that those magical characters were classified, and everybody would always get into these arguments about how they got Han wrong. They would always put Han alongside that boy wizard and be like, well, he's brave and he's this and he's that. He should be here. And it's like, no, he's fundamentally driven by hurt, by some insecurity, by not knowing what his purpose is. Even when he's got all the cash at the end of New Hope and he could bail, there's a little bit of, I mean, you see it even like, I don't think anyone in 77 expected him to turn around and show up at the end fight. That's why it's so iconic. But rewatching that movie, it's all there. Like, it's all over his face. And like, it's, I think that turning point sort of slowly happened over the course of, my age group discussing the character. We were like, this guy is, he's a big brother. He's obviously part of one of the most iconic romances of all time, a romance that he's very dorky in and very bad at navigating until the third film. You guys here on ForceCenter have so beautifully described why the movie that Harrison gets accused of phoning it in is so essential, that he's the man that she thought he could be. And then they unfreeze him a year later, and he commits, he volunteers, he becomes this guy. So it's all that. And the last thing I'll throw on that point is a realization that definitely a past 10 years realization for me. And I wish I could take full credit for it, but I have also seen it discussed places, which is that in the great George and his dog metaphor for Han and Chewie, we know that it is somewhat literal and somewhat of an author insert because of his dog Indiana. So it's like, I'm not disputing that that's what he meant, but in the text, thematically, and especially if you want to get nerdy and throw in some canon and talk about how old Chewbacca is, Han is the dog. Han is the dog.
He's the puppy.
And once I realized that, Han is Chewbacca's third or fourth dog. He's a rescue. He pees everywhere. He messed up the apartment. He made it dirty. He made it gross. He's not unlike the way Crypto acts in our most recent Superman film. Han is a dog who will always be there, and he will always come through. But man, he's a pain, because Chewbacca has it together through every era. There's never been a bad Chewie era.
He's steadfast. Yeah, we don't know Chewie at 14. I don't know. He could have been out smoking death sticks behind the tree. I don't know. But you're right.
I hope he was.
Yeah, I hope he was. I enjoyed it. I had never really heard that discussed. I absolutely love that, and it's definitely true. I want to go to one of the big surface things. There's so many things I want to get to. One of the big ones for me is Han being considered a bad guy, and that he's a bad guy that goes good in New Hope, which I understand generationally. That got passed down. Like you said, there wasn't more podcasts in 77 diving deep into the themes of Star Wars. I get it, but it's just incorrect. And Solo Star Wars Story is very much a part of that kind of telling of the soul of Han. But that's there. But I want to start with actually what's on the surface, which is he is cool. He is sexy. He is debonair. He is the rogue. He is the blaster wielding cowboy. His shirt's undone a little bit. He's winking. And Harrison becomes a heartthrob because of it, even though Harrison would tell you, a heartthrob, just an actor. But what did you see as you come up decades behind me? I hate to say that, but decades. As you come up behind me, you and I are similar. I don't think we're debonair rogues. I know for
Well,
myself, I grew up going, I probably am like Luke, but man, I wish I was Han. Did you have that kind of attraction to the character? Where does it really begin?
did I see myself? No. But
Yeah.
did I see, and especially looking back, did I see things that I couldn't explain why they affected me? And then you get a little bit more language, then a little bit more language. Yes. Like
Mm,
cinematically, um, aesthetically, the costume, the actions,
right.
again, his intro. I do think Star Wars overall, uh, especially the three trilogies, has about 8 or 9 of the greatest character introductions in cinema history,
Sure.
like genre or not. Like Han's intro, Leia's intro, Vader's
Hmm.
intro, Yoda's intro, like Rey's intro. These are
Hmm.
immediate. They're on screen for 30 seconds, and you're like, I've always known you. I love you. I want to go with you. Like, and
Hmm.
Hans is impossible to recreate. Like, there's a whole tradition of characters, not just in Star Wars, which is where
Hmm.
it's really obvious. Whether that's Dash, whether that's Hondo, whether that's, pick
Oh,
any of them.
Dash. Yeah.
Pick Jod and Nawood, pick any of them. They all
Jod. Yep.
exist in his tradition,
Hmm.
and that
Hmm.
visual of this guy who's not showing any respect for the master that we just met, who's
Yep.
clowning on the kid that we already feel like we're with, who's
Yeah. The older
negotiating
brother.
about money, who's like, calling him an old man, and then has this confrontation with one of our first villains.
Yeah.
Who, like, yeah, he's a joke to us now, but he is one of the first villains that goes after one of your heroes in Greedo, and he kills him. And
Yeah.
then, sorry about the mess. Are
Hmm.
you kidding me? It's the coolest thing I've ever heard. So it's
Hmm.
like, I almost don't blame, and I really don't
Yeah.
blame Generation X for watching that as little kids and thinking, "Oh my god," because it is
Yeah.
insanely cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we had that a little bit with Anakin jumping out of the speeder and Obi-Wan. Like, I hate it when he does that. It's like, that's the coolest thing I ever
That-
saw. When he jumps
yeah.
out of the speeder and that Jedi business, go back to your drinks. Like, it's almost reinterpreting it
Yeah.
through a Jedi character.
Mm,
So it's like,
mm.
all of that I
That's
grabbed onto, and
fascinating.
then once I was a teenager, I understood. I was like, I could phrase it the way I'm phrasing it now as a character
Right.
introduction. But as a child, you're just like, who is this guy who is immediately different from all the other ones? Because
Right.
even the droids have a mission, they have purpose, they're nice, they're funny.
Hmm.
And Han is charming, but he's kind of everyone's first character who's not nice. Definitely
Hmm.
in Star Wars, and for you guys, probably period.
Hmm.
Like, you guys have, like, Captain Kirk is a rogue, and you could
Yeah.
probably draw a line between the two.
A
But
little bit.
Kirk is also, he's working. He's an
Yeah.
explorer. He's
He's
official.
o-
He's sanctioned.
he's on the
Like,
team. Yeah. He's on
he's
the
not a
team.
criminal. Han's a
Yeah.
criminal,
Yeah.
and that's what's different between them. And it's so
Yeah.
all of that I think is immediately fascinating. And then, like, yeah, like, obviously, like, pew pew, it's cool. The DL-44 is objectively cool to this
Yeah.
day. Yeah.
It's just one of those things. You have it's say with Indiana Jones or a James Bond character. If you're a James Bond fan or whatever whoever your James Bond is, there's just that kind of innate coolness. And let's be honest, sometimes we all wish we could walk in a room and own it like a Han Solo, which was very much my driving factor. He was everything I didn't feel I could be. Whether or not later on you learn that's good or not,
Right.
that was the appeal there. And it's just, and again, by the time you're here, you're roaming around the Star Wars world as a young fan. He's already a legend, and he was a legend by the time, I'm watching Return of the Jedi. He's already
Yeah.
established by then.
Yeah.
But the legend, and then the Han shot first, all the kind of stuff, like you said. And it's just interesting to me. And I love that it's still generation. That's still part of the appeal of Han is
Mhm.
cool guy.
He's just
Cool guy.
cool, and it's almost fascinating now. We would have to add, another person to this who's even younger than I am, to get, like, these other entry points that they could have. They could have entered at Solo. They could have entered at TFA.
Hmm.
And then what happens? I've had that with my nephew, who perceives Luke as an old man first. And
Right.
I haven't met somebody who perceives Han as an old man first, but they're out there. There's a whole generation of them.
I
And
would be absolutely fascinated to talk to someone who is of a age enough to where they're remembering the film. You know, they're not 3 watching Force Awakens, 10, 12, I don't know, 14, 15, maybe you might even be too old for what you and I are talking about. But seeing that Han first, grumpy, curmudgeon, separated, the great love story is told in a different way there, which is still one of my favorite things about the film. That's fascinating to
like,
think
we're
about.
recording this coming up on the 10-year. So it's like by Star Wars Celebration 2027, there could be kids that are like, oh, Han Solo, that's Kylo Ren's dad. Like, that's their first identifying thing.
Yeah.
Oh, the guy who offered Rey a job. He got killed in the first one? Yeah, the first one. Exactly.
He's like like how Obi-Wan was to my generation.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's huge. And we'll talk about that too. Of like
that guy did things. The old guy did things, huh?
The mentor. Yeah. He had, there's adventure. Oh, you can watch movies about his other adventures. Okay.
Interesting.
That's freaky.
A lot of places to go, but I do want to go to Force Awakens. I do want to go to, I want to jump around the board a bit and go to that time period of I've grown up with this character for a long time. It's amazing that he's coming back. And it was the big thing. Like, I remember the day the sale was announced, new movies are coming, and we might have been on, we were on Schmoes that night. Matt Mercer was our guest, and we had to rearrange the entire show to talk about the sale. And I just remember thinking, whether we said it or not on air, I'm like, there's no way Harrison's coming back. There's just no way. There's no way. Come on. There's no way. But then he does come back. I think it's pitch perfect. I think some of his best Han moments are in 7 and 9. But what about you? You come along, you grow up with this guy with a different way. We'll jump back in time to Han as an older brother, Han as a father figure. But here he does really show up as Grandpa Han to you. What did you love about the Force Awakens version?
It's extremely vindicating, first of all, for those of us that believed not only that a new Star Wars could be good, because I'll tell you, I was not broadcasting that night. I went to school the next day, and I went to my junior year English teacher, and I ran up to her desk because I knew she liked Star Wars, and I slammed my hands down. I said, "They're making Episode 7, Star Wars," and I had to show her the article, and her reaction was, well, those aren't going to be good. Like, they can't be good. And I was just like, how dare you? And
can I say, I recently, I still on Facebook only just to, as my friend Owen says, check in on the dead. But also I just, I see the old memory sometimes. And this past October, the day of the sale, the memory came up. I had posted on Facebook, Disney, Lucasfilm sold to Disney, new Star Wars films coming. I've got a bad feeling about this. So just in case anyone who accuses ForceCenter being so positive, you're just so positive, I can't take you seriously. I got a list of names of those people in my business who say this stuff behind my back. I know, it gets to me. That's where I started. But then part of it was Han. Part of it was my guy coming back and working on a level that I could, never have previously hoped would work.
And those were the first few conversations, right? It was not just will Harrison Ford come back. It was, will Harrison Ford phone it in? That's what I remember hearing a lot. And I want to go on the record and say that Harrison Ford has never had a bad period to me. Like all actors, he has had projects that have hit. He's had projects that have not hit, but that man has always done good work. I watched Morning Glory with Rachel McAdams this year, 2011. He's good. He's good playing a morning news anchor. I watched K-19, The Widowmaker. Movie's not that great. He's good in it. Like Harrison has always enjoyed acting, and I'm very happy to say that what I realized in 2015, the night of, was, I mean, first of all, that performance just washes over you. Obviously, you're very sad by the end because he's dead, but it was like I said, vindication and like letting the sigh out, the sigh of relief of like, not only was he good, probably the best Han performance that he turned in.
I think so.
And then he turns in one of the best performances of his career in Blade Runner. Then he turns in what might be, just in terms of acting, his best indie in Dial of Destiny. And
Absolutely
he's rocking it on Shrinking. So I honestly think he's locked into a whole other gear as an old man. just as an actor, he's just incredible right now.
That I do think starts with The Force Awakens.
Force Awakens, yes.
I really do think you're right. Yeah, I do think you're right.
It did not start with Cowboys and Aliens, much to our collective chagrin. We wanted it to.
I saw that in theaters. I was rooting.
Because I did too. Because that was a little taste. Because Jon Favreau had him at Comic-Con that year, and we were like, ooh, Harrison at Comic-Con, that's crazy. Then, of course, he embraced Star Wars. He embraced the whole run of TFA. It's been so long that people forget how wonderful and fun that whole ride was, not just for fans, but for them. Like John Boyega and Harrison Ford being best friends on the press tour and all those jokes and just the great stuff that he had to say about the next generation, the way he propped them up, and he delivered so well. And in that character, you know, I don't want to tell like an hour-long story, obviously, but like the long and short of it, as you know, as my friend, but like for those who have never heard me say this before, the long and short of it is that I grew up not having my father, and I thought as a child that what I wanted, and part of why Return of the Jedi is my favorite film and why it imprinted on me so hard, is that I thought I wanted that. I thought that the son could step up and that one day I could face him, that it would work out and everything. And then life comes at you fast. That doesn't happen, et cetera, et cetera. Flash forward. Now I'm a young adult. How old am I? 2015. I'm almost 20 when that movie came out, or I just turned 20 when that movie came out. And the realization I had in Force Awakens was, and it's bolstered by his amazing performance, the direction, the visuals, the complete lack of subtlety with the sun going out, which I love, that's what I wanted. And that's what I want for every child that's in that, is that the onus is on them because they had us. It's like that was such a moment where I was like, oh my God, they flipped it. Like the parent goes to make it right, not the son. And yeah, it's a light side parent versus a dark side parent. So I understand that, you know, Vader was not in a place where he would do such a thing logically, but mythically speaking, I was like, oh my God, like this hits so much harder. And there's a third part to that for a different conversation of how Din and Grogu, I think, take it up to even, you know, a higher level emotionally, where there's so much give and take and so much healthy back and forth, and they constantly choose each other and save each other and make it right for each other. That is really probably what you want. But in that moment of really seeing this incredible acting, and I think Adam is we don't talk, it's so accepted that Kylo is well acted that we also just like forget, just like on a pure casting decision, that's a good Harrison Ford son. Like it just feels right. It looks right. It works. And watching that play out for the first time, I was already like tearing up because I, like many people, thought, well, he's the Obi of this movie. He's probably going to go out. You know, I felt that going in. Then he stepped out onto the bridge, and I started bracing myself. I think I was holding hands with my friend Olivia, and I was like, I'm gonna have to watch this man die. But like, I know from the trailers that there's still a saber fight. Like, I'm coming out of my brain a little bit in that moment. Am I going to be able to enjoy the rest of this? Like, they're about to murder Han Solo after no movies for 10 years. Which, like, as a quick aside, just about Force Awakens, for a movie that gets accused of rehash a lot, and you know, I'm not poo-pooing anyone that doesn't like it, certainly not. But it's just like, again, we've accepted culturally that it's safe, that it's like, it's not. Like, it's not. Han doesn't show up till the second act. They kill him. The trio never gets back together. Luke has no dialogue. He doesn't show up until the final scene. Like, it's like, if you described that to someone in the 10-year gap, they'd be like, you're insane. That sounds like the worst episode 7 of all time. Right. And it works. And so, yeah, and a lot of that is because of Harrison. So, yeah, to your original point, old Han, that complete crystallization of like the sensitivity, the giving back. You know, I'll segue into Solo here a little bit of like, old Han Solo is already great. It's even better for me with the controversial naming of Han Solo. For me, it layers perfectly into his whole life, particularly the end.
Yeah, we can jump around here, but I want to, good time to get into Solo because we are celebrating the character of Han Solo. It's
Yes.
impossible to pull that apart from Harrison Ford,
Yes.
and I wouldn't want to, but they did. Solo Star Wars story. We'll acknowledge right now, some people still to this day, we didn't need it, we didn't ask for it, I didn't like it. I heard Lord and Miller were on that film, and they were good. They won. Then we got Ron Howard playing too nice, quite frankly, with the process of that film. You and I don't have an NDA, but I also wasn't in the meetings. But I rolled my eyes a lot at Ron's comments this past week.
Love you,
at the time of
Ron.
recording. Love Ron.
Love you, buddy.
And
Good man.
can't wait for his daughter to direct a feature film in Star Wars. Bryce Dallas Howard, one of my favorite Star Wars directors. That aside, I just want to acknowledge the ForceCenter caveats. I want to acknowledge it's not a film for everyone. I want to acknowledge that. It is a film for me. It is absolutely one of my favorite stories, and it's my guy, my character, Han Solo. It does such a good job of really providing, I don't know how to say it, man, lessons. There's so much to take from the film beyond that's how he got his blaster. That's how he and Chewie met. I get that. And I get that's not for everyone. I don't know what else you'd want, but it boils down to that scene where I was one of the people on this channel when Bob Iger says, "Oh, we're going to find out how he got his name." And I was like, well, clearly that's thematic. No, we find out how he got his name.
No, he meant that.
He meant that. Thanks, Uncle Bob. And I would say this, am I going to put it in my top 20 Star Wars scenes? No, but I do in terms of favorite scenes, but I do kind of consider it one of the most important scenes for this character I love. And it all comes down to Alden Ehrenreich telling the story of that character's next 40 years with his eyes as he gets that name and contemplates what it means for him in that moment. We know about the indifference of the Empire. Joseph Scrimshaw does a wonderful job in this channel describing the just kind of indifference of the oppression going on around him, and the perfectly played bored Imperial officer just, all right, Solo, Han Solo, whatever. Doesn't mean it drop a shit in the bucket to me. Yeah. But the camera pushes in on Alden, and that's everything that Han Solo needs. Yes, this is my new identity. And this is going to drive me for the next 40 years as a character. And it's going to be, and the only way, and I get to the finish line, and I essentially drop this. Yeah, he drops that name to me in episode 7 on that walkway. He drops the name. He's carried it his whole life. He runs away from everything in his life, including Leia in the end. And it all emotional canon ties back to that moment for me. Take me to that moment for you when Solo's in theaters.
So, like you, I was very aware of Bob Iger's comment. And I also was like, guys, it's a phrase in the English language to say, make one's name. Like, stop. What are you complaining about already? Because I was also very much, it's important to acknowledge, like, we love this so much. I was very much on I was like Solo's lawyer during the lead up to that movie, because I was very preemptively defensive and angry on its behalf of how much I felt like the knives were out for the whole thing, like the Super Bowl spot. And I'm not out here defending their strategy of waiting that long. I probably wouldn't have, if I could have avoided it.
Then the release date, Uncle Bob,
the date,
that's on you, bud.
And all that.
That's on you, bud.
It's like not a good move. Like, that's all on the ForceCenter record.
And so is maybe forcing directors on a studio that didn't want to use them.
Perhaps. So I've heard. Pray tell. Around town, the town I don't live in, that you live in. But it's just like that. All of that really got in my head. And when the Super Bowl spot was our first look, which is, again, unusual. Usually the Super Bowl spot is not the first time you see something. You see a trailer where they tee it up for Good Morning America, which they did, but it was just the Han shot that's not in the movie, of like the revealing partial of the face. And it was immediately this is because of what we read, that he's bad, that he didn't talk in the spot because they're not confident in him, and this, that. And look, there's not that many Aldens in the world, right? It's me and him. So it's like I'm
Yeah, I don't
already.
think. Yeah,
I,
I don't know any
this is
others.
also something that like I haven't like brought up in the conversation, but like
And I met you both
cosmically
in
when
the.
he was cast,
Yeah, I met
yeah,
you both in the same year. I met you both in the same year.
the same year. Cosmically, when because I was aware that he existed
Mm-hmm.
because having an unusual first name, I looked
Mm-hmm.
into if anyone had it. I
Yeah, he's in the
believe,
Coen Brothers picture. Yeah,
yeah, he's in Hail Caesar. He's in a Coppola movie from a while back.
right.
He'd worked, um, but I was always tickled by the fact that they cast someone with my name to play my character, and I was like, well,
Mm-hmm.
that's got to be a good sign. And then
Like you
so then the
ordered it up.
knives came out, and I was like, this is not right. Like, why are we turning on this like movie that has? Because again, you're so invested and you love it that you know things that make sense to you and get you excited, but like
Mm-hmm.
no one else understands, or it feels like no one else understands, even though that's obviously not true because I'm friends with you and all these other nerds that we know. But like, I remember being like, why are people preemptively bad mouthing a Han Solo film written by Lawrence Kasdan that Kasdan wanted to work on? How dare they? Don't they know that he's why we love him? Like, I was
Mm-hmm.
so angry. So you get into the film. I did sort of like have a moment of being like, whoa, they were being literal about his name. Like it did
Yeah,
take me
yeah,
back.
it did.
But
Yeah.
then I didn't get to where I am now with the thoughts I'm about to express until later. But I was positive on it, like in the moment. I came out of that movie loving it.
Mm-hmm. Fine. Yeah.
I watched that movie more in theaters than any of the other modern ones. I saw that movie a
Mm-hmm.
lot. I started to see that movie just for lunch. Like I would just be like, I'm gonna see Solo
Mm-hmm.
again. Like I'm going to
Same.
because it's easy listening. I can't
Yeah.
to this day I can't sit down. I can't just throw on Last Jedi. I have to sit
Mm-hmm.
down.
Right. Right.
Whereas
Yeah.
Solo is like I could throw on Solo, like it's a great
Yep.
song, like whatever.
Yep.
And part of it, was digesting what it meant for the whole. You talk about emotional canon. I always throw around, well, I used to when I was on Twitter. I would throw around the word tapestry a lot, where it was like
Mm.
that became like my, swear jar word where I'm always talking about it. Like it's
Yeah.
impossible for me to consume a Star Wars piece at this point without thinking about the whole. And
Mm.
when I left Solo and thought about the fact that that last name isn't, I don't want to say real, but isn't legal, isn't
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
biologically, isn't,
Yeah.
isn't family. And that's the thing is that we're told in the same movie that there is a family, but
Yeah.
but that remains mystery, which I like. I like
Yeah.
knowing that they're there, but that within and without. I like
Mm-hmm.
knowing what his
Yeah.
dad did for a living without knowing the father's name or anything. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's so smart. That that that
Yeah.
that hole sits there.
Yeah. I know they
And
played around with it in the
it's smart.
comics too, and everything with his dad and everything. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
like this guy pretended to be him and
Pretended to
everything,
be
and I
him.
was
Yeah.
so glad it wasn't him. I think
Yeah.
that was a
Mm-hmm.
welcome
Mm-hmm.
anti-twist.
Mm-hmm.
But realizing that that name meant that made my heart soar because when you get to Force Awakens, it's these kids. Well, they're adults, but they are kids to him that are standing in his ship that he just declared is home to him,
Home.
which
Yeah.
is of course iconic and like, I mean, talk about like electric moments in both of our lives. Like the
Mm-hmm.
world stopped when that teaser came out, but then you see it in the film, and it's not as triumphant as it plays in the trailer. It's
Mm-hmm.
amazing for your heart, but you're walking around and you're realizing like, oh man, like you've fallen on hard times. Like it's
Yeah.
starting to piece together. And what seals it, and what connects to Solo is Ray and Finn disagree about their
Mm.
histories of who he is. Because Finn comes at it with rebellion general. He's clearly been told about
Mm-hmm.
the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
But then Ray comes at it with the smuggler, and it's his reaction to them, and it's the way she says, paraphrasing her, but she's, you are Han Solo, and he says, I used to be. It was already a great line just on its own.
Mm-hmm.
But once you consider that he actually did really create that identity, I
Mm-hmm.
used to be feels like it's not just I'm not who I was. It's this thing that I created has slipped through my hands. It's like I
Yes.
I I used to be this thing, the thing that helped me get over my childhood and teen trauma, the thing that helped me get over losing Kira, the thing that has always helped me, the thing that has also given me a lot of good. You know, the reason I met my wife, the reason my son even exists is because I was Han Solo. The reason I met my best friend is because I was Han Solo. The reason why I have the home that we are standing in is because I was Han Solo, and now I'm not. And it's, you know, in terms of fantasy tropes and historical tropes and all that stuff, genre, I always defend it by telling people, well, you know, like Billy the Kid didn't just like become that, you know, like the Jesse James, like all these people, like the law put names on them and then they filled those names with things, and everything that he filled Solo with, he feels like he's not worthy of anymore. Right. And it's really sad. And you know, I love connecting it even further to Charles Soule's The Rise of Kylo Ren, when Ben Solo, pre-turning into Kylo Ren, goes to Snoke in the Maxine space station where the Drengir are from, High Republic fans. And he talks to Snoke and says to him, like, he's talking about his name, and he's like, you know, Ben, for a man I never even knew. And then he's like, and Solo, like, did you know it's not even a real last name? Like, he trashes it. And at the end of his arc, it's like the father and the son both like feel like either it's falling apart or it's not real or it was never real or everything. And when Ben Solo returns in Rise of Skywalker, in part through a conversation with Harrison Ford, more great Harrison acting, it's made me realize that Solo isn't so much like a name that got put on him. It's like a thing that you get to create. Like, it's not about like finding yourself. It's about making yourself. Like, it's about whatever you wanted it to be. And Han made himself from, you know, the breakup with Kira to Mos Eisley. That decade is making himself in all the wrong ways. But then he gets to make himself in all the right ways after. And he's heartbroken in TFA, so he's not giving himself credit. But we know that Han Solo I used to be. It's like, yeah, man. And not just what you're thinking about. It's also, you know, like the Ewok that gave you little cuddles, you know, when the story was being told, he'd be happy about Han Solo. Yeah. You know, Chewbacca is happy to know Han Solo. Like, it is also good. And he can't hear that anymore, because it's like when you're sad, it's hard to, especially to that degree, it's hard to hear anything logical come through your mind. But it's like, no, that did mean something for a lot of people. And putting all that together, I was like, you know, again, I'm not saying you have to like Solo, but in that moment, like you said, like that Alden is able to not embody Harrison, but embody Han. Not do what Harrison's doing, but have what Harrison had done in his mind, just thinking it, you know. And there are moments, I will say, where it is kind of freaky that, like, posture wise, you're like, oh my God, like that's Harrison Ford. Like, it does come out sometimes, but it doesn't need to when in the emotional moments. It's just like, you believe that he's this kid. And there are little things too, like Rey, you know, as Finn so iconically asked, why does everyone want to go back to Jakku? And it's like, note that Han is surprised by it, but then when she talks about the green and everything, he looks at her, he gives her that look. We all thought with our, you know, fan brains at the time, why are you looking at her? It's because he knows who she is. Obviously, that did not pan out.
He's seen Plagueis' staff.
The Plagueis staff. Han versus Plagueis. But you look at it now emotionally with the whole, and it's like, no, he's seeing maybe the only person he's ever met that is, you know, relating to what he was. Because remember, he enlisted to get back home.
To get back
to the sewers. He was willing to go back to garbage and pain and probably death. And so was she. And he connects to her on that level. You know, he didn't even offer Luke a job. Obviously, Luke had a greater purpose, but he offered Rey a job because for the first time he was understood.
Yeah. Yeah, he offers Luke a job, but it seemed more like I better ask him something. I like the kid.
Sure, yeah, like we got to small talk it, but yeah, and it's
but
like
no, he
you know,
yeah, Han Solo
no, go.
sees in Rey someone who would do anything to get back to her people, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And that's part of the connection. I think framed beautifully there by you of connecting, returning to Jakku, returning to Corellia. So many more things to talk about. We're not done here yet at all, but I did want to talk a little bit about there's so much to talk about Solo Star Wars story, so we can jump back to that. But you mentioned it in just terms of favorite moments with this character Han Solo. Rise of Skywalker might be my number one, right?
it's crazy.
And
good.
I say that only because there's a lot of other options for me as a fan of a lifelong fan of Han Solo. But it might be my favorite Han Solo moment. How did that one play for you? Did you cry like me?
I sobbed. I sob every time. It's like the only time I didn't sob was sitting next to you watching the movie at the Academy because we saw that scene together in person, and it was because I was just like buzzing that we were all in the Academy. Like my excitement of the day. But like if I'm alone watching that movie, I cry every time. But it's like that is an interesting moment, especially for. I don't want it to sound like hardcore Star Wars fans have a better time or anything like that. It's not about that. It's just like because if you're brand new and you just discovered Han and you're watching this, I'm so happy for you. I'm so excited for you. I cannot wait to hear what you think about this character. I can't wait to read the comments. I'm so happy for everyone discovering this now. But it just so happens that those of us that had a lot of investment knew that movie was made under particular circumstances, especially in regards to Carrie Fisher. Now, it's the double whammy of Carrie was gone, and also the person who would have had to deal with that was no longer directing the film. So you have a complete creative shift with also an overall trilogy, like break glass in case of emergency. Like, what do we do? Because it was very obviously, and this has been confirmed by everyone, that it was going to be, each of the core trio got a spotlight across the films, and Leia was going to have the final bow in 9. Now she's gone. Now Colin Trevorrow's not doing it. Now this, now that. Like, it was a lot, and part of that was going in as a fan and thinking, man, like it's like you don't want to like put your nerd stuff above the reality that a real person is gone. But by 2019, Carrie had already been gone for 3 years, so it was like we're because it's like it's that weird time thing of like we had a movie with her a year after she was gone because of when she wrapped. So it's like it's so strange. So by the time 2019 is rolling around, I'm having story conversations with myself where I'm like, I don't want to be J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio right now, because how on earth do I end this trilogy without the mother-son thing that was so clearly essential? And like not in a what about the plan type way, because it's like I'm not even that type of fan. It's not about that. It's just like you look at 8, and who can he not fire upon is her. And so it's like if she's off the board, and like not in totality, because obviously Leia still gets to be in the film and everything, and that's a different conversation, and I happen to be mostly very happy with it. But
awesome.
When you get to the third act of that movie, and I remember I'm at a press screening watching it, and I remember like Maz has that line of like Leia knows what she must do now, and she, Connix walks away with her, and like R2, and like I'm like, oh, she's gonna die. He's over there. He's still evil. I was like, it didn't take me out of the movie, but I was just having those like, can this be 3 hours long? Like, what is happening? And when you get that, hey kid, I was like, son of a bitch. I was like, that son of a bitch, JJ, he did it. Like immediately hearing Harrison's voice, I was like, oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Like, if not Carrie, then him. If not Carrie, it has to be him. And the thing that's smart about it, I mean, many things are smart about it. The mostly lifting the exact same dialogue, but just changing the reads is brilliant. Adam nails that so beautifully. But it was not forgetting that was supposed to be Carrie's. So it works on a real life level and a story level. Like Harrison is there as a messenger for Carrie. Han is there as a messenger for Leia. Like, and I don't know what the conversations were like. We'll never know. But it's like you got to imagine that was a motivating point for Harrison. I think in the documentary they say that like JJ called him, pitched him the scene, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." Like it sounds pretty simple.
Yeah.
But I would be shocked if JJ didn't say, "Look, man, this would have been a Leia thing." And when he says to him, you know, your mother's gone, but what she stood for, what she fought for, that's not gone. That's when I wanted to stand and applaud while crying, because I was like, that's it. It manages to perfectly sequelize their confrontation in 7, building on the dice fading away in his hand in 8, and then coming together. When you guys on ForceCenter talk about the cheek touch that saved the galaxy, you're right, because it's not that, you know, every redemptive act can happen in the room. It's not always throw down your saber and then your dad turns when he sees you in pain. He did that cheek touch, and it almost created like a light side time bomb. Like his turn took a calendar year, but it starts there. And when he is able to finally throw that saber into the ocean, it's not a turn that's happening. It's a turn completing because of Han. And this is, again, there's all the obvious stuff too that we were all excited about in 2015 of Han saying it's true, all of it. Like this guy who was so removed from the magic is now talking to his own child who has become a dark wizard of magic and is at the centerpiece of all this. And it's like for the Corellian scrum rat that he was to end up having to, through a memory, compel his son to go help the hero on a world of death to go defy the Emperor. It's like, this is my regular person becoming important thing. And it's not to discount Cassian Andor or the Skeleton Crew kids or anybody, but it's like, Star Wars always was that. Like, you know, Star Wars always had the regular person making the right choice. Star Wars always had
back.
Yeah, the person that could have gone left and goes right. And it crystallizes there. Yeah, so that Rise of Skywalker scene is absolutely incredible. I don't even care that Harrison has stubble in the scene that he didn't have when he died. Maybe he imagined him with some stubble. That's his right.
It's a dream. It's a vision for, you know, I don't remember everything exact from 10 years ago. So, I think that's it. No, I'm glad. Well said on just the purpose, the point of the scene, and just how it was played, and the warmth, the warm reading, if you will, versus the cold reading that was the first film. And I've been on the record before saying I was initially disappointed with his death. I felt I wanted it more. And that was my first big misreading of Star Wars through ForceCenter discussions, through, the elegant words of Joseph Scrimshaw, just working through it of realizing, no, it wasn't just a death. It was a moment of great purpose. And it was the true arc completion of the Han Solo arc. And we're still a year or two away from Solo, so we don't have a lot of stuff that you and I were talking about earlier. But it's all present there in the original trilogy, and just the simple. It was. So again, Han's my favorite character from the '80s into the '90s, 2000s, whatever. Now here I'm 2015. I'm an old Han fan. Now he's speaking to me in a different way, and now I'm going back. So I'm seeing his death, and then I'm seeing his death have even more meaning in 2019. But I'm going back. And just seeing all the mistakes this character made, that anytime he connected, anytime he did help someone else, he shrinks and he runs away from it, right? Yeah. He's packing his bags at the beginning of Empire Strikes Back. And I think that's forgotten through a lot of time. I think you got so many great things going on in Empire, but it's the novelization that talks about him being a captain of the Millennium Falcon, not a captain of the Rebel Alliance. It is the novelization, Return of the Jedi, that gives you Leia's perspective on Han becoming a general, and that turn that you see on screen is Leia being like, you finally committed to something, but then he runs away from even that. He constantly runs away. And I think as someone who has constantly run away from who I can be, who I feel maybe I want to be, to see Han finally come home and stick to it and not turn around and not be afraid and pay for it with his life, but then ends up saving his son in the end. It was so powerful to experience. It made me just love this character even more than I could have imagined in the summer of '83 when I'm playing Han in my backyard.
Yeah, it's all of that, man. It's beautifully said, and it's true. Like that, Han, despite all his running away, he constantly finds you when you need him,
Mm-hmm.
and that's applies to in-world
Yeah.
people and us as fans. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's always returned in my life in the way that was relevant. Like we talked about as the kids say now, the aura of Han Solo, and
Mm.
like how immediately he's cool, but it plays into. I don't want to dog too much on Gen X. I love you guys, but collectively, the misremembering, particularly of Empire as dark and cool and the
Right.
serious one and all that, it's like, what are you
Mm-hmm.
talking about? It's one of the funniest
Mm-hmm.
movies. That's one of the funniest genre
Right.
blockbusters ever made, and a
Yep.
lot of it is misremembering Han across all three.
Yes.
It is, like we talk, and again, I love Denis Villeneuve, I love Dune, but like he comes out and he's like, oh, it's the third one that made it for children, and it's like it wasn't Han and 3PO arguing while in the
Mm-hmm.
asteroid field, like things like that made it for
Mm-hmm.
children. Like Han's humor is perfect character driven all ages humor, and
Yeah.
it's once you have those realizations that are surface and then genre and then cultural, then you get to personal, which we've touched on a little bit, but like to really drive it home, you want to be cool like Han until you realize what you really want is to shed being cool like Han. Like
Yes.
you that's what
Mm-hmm.
I've realized, at least. Like I really pride myself in my life on the way I present myself, the way I speak, and blah blah blah, and whatever it is, and I always have. But now that I'm staring down the barrel of 30, I realize it's like, no, I just want a little Ewok to come and hug my leg. I just want to have
Yes.
I just want to sit around with my friends. Like I want, like, you start to
Yes.
realize that he gained what is actually valuable. Um and it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that the Hanness ever goes away, as is evidenced
Mm.
by Force Awakens. Um and
Right.
he's so funny when you see him back to his old ways. It's like sad to see him that way, but Harrison's so
Mm-hmm.
good. But
Yep.
it's like, yeah, I also want to shed a lot of the layers that I feel like I've had to create, and I want to
Mm.
shed the persona of whoever Alden Diaz is different than who Han Solo is or pretends to be. But there is a
Mm.
level of pretending, and I think the character is telling us like it's okay to not do that. It's okay to
Mm.
drop the illusion a little bit, because we stand, I think, we run the risk of being misunderstood in the way that the character was, and
Mm-hmm.
in the way that the trilogy was, quite frankly, because again, there's a different original trilogy that a lot of people of a certain age remember that, I'm sorry,
Mm.
just does not exist.
Mm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
I had someone this year tell me, someone who I love, who's a really good friend, but he was like, really what we're realizing is that you guys are attached to a tone that didn't come around really until like 2002. And I'm like, I'm sorry, that's just not true. Like, like that's just not true. That the tone, the silly, all that was always there, and most of it comes from the guy you all said was super cool. Most of it
Yeah.
comes from your badass. A
Yeah.
lot of it does, because Luke's not that funny,
No.
and Leia
Han.
is a very different funny,
A different funny.
and
It's
very
Han
different.
running. It's Han running down the hallway, running.
Immediately,
Running, screaming, running back. It is yeah. Sorry about the mess. Yeah, which is
because it's like
innately cool, but yeah, it's absolutely from
meeting
Han.
him meeting him in the cantina is still like his element. He gets to control it, and they haven't actually started spending time with him yet.
No,
Once they're
yeah,
on the Falcon and once they go to the Death Star thing, they're actually spending time with him, and the illusion starts to fall apart all over,
yeah,
that he is making it all up. It is a garbage ship. It
yeah,
is slapsticky, and it's ironic that we talk about all this heaviness with his passing, that the old man that he had no respect for, he joins his tradition of being a part of the dark and the light opera, being a part of ensuring the next generation. I mean, he dies for the son that he named after the man that he pooped on in his first appearance. So it's like there's all of this
for me to poop on.
Oh, I've become Obi-Wan, and I'm begging Lucasfilm to give me. We have already had a little bit. I will say there is obviously Last Shot. He's a toddler. Ben Solo's a toddler in that, but like I need the canonical. What are we naming our baby? Story. If that's a comic, if it's an audio, I'll listen. I will pay full price for a 10-minute audio of them discussing it.
Do we have Ben's full name listed anywhere in a Hidalgo book? Is there any kind of reference material? Is it Benjamin Lumpawaru Chewbacca Solo Organa?
A lot of people like to joke that his actual full name is Ben Quaterneros Solo. And that has nothing to do with Obi-Wan. But
I'll accept that.
It's fascinating. And again, Gen X, I love y'all. But
I don't.
You sold me a cold badass, and that ain't him.
My war with Gen X Star Wars fans is only getting more aggressive. It's only getting more aggressive. And the problem, what I'm discovering, different conversation. This is a positive episode about Han Solo. What I'm discovering with a lot of Gen Xers, not everyone, but a lot of Gen X Star Wars fans don't realize they're the villains. Realize they're the villains in a lot of interactions and conversations, and it inflames me to the end. You know why? Because it does it connects to the Han in me. Good way to start kind of bringing this conversation home, because Han doesn't like to see the folks around him bullied. He doesn't like to turn his back on helping. And I'm sure there's a lot of stories that we don't even know yet as a character, that even in the height of his smuggling and the height of working for Jabba and the height of being one of the top names in the game, he probably still helped people along the way. And that's what gets him. That's why he turns around in 77. That's why the crowds react to it. That's the look on his face. You're so right to say it. Han is Harrison's playing it perfectly in that moment. And I know there's the conversation where Chewie's like, "We're doing this again. You only went so far with Infant's Nest. You only went so far with Infant's Nest. We're doing this again. There's bigger stakes. Turn around. I knew Yoda. Turn around."
Has to be that, and also connecting to Solo and connecting to again. I have to remind everybody: Han Solo is the dog, not Chewbacca. When you think about it that way, it's also Chewie being like, Did I turn around to save you from those guys in the mines of Kessel for you to do this now? This is not what I taught you in my house.
Again.
But this is not what we do. When Chewie turns around for him, and Alden plays that perfectly, where he's like, "Hi!" He's pushing the canisters and everything, and Chewbacca choke slams that guy and everything. It's awesome.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
If for some reason you're on ForceCenter and you haven't watched Solo: A Star Wars Story, I mean, please,
impossible.
Get going. But it's like that moment is like I choose this scrappy little pup. I choose him, but also Han has to live to the standard of Chewie. Like, to your point, like Chewbacca's a family man. Like we joke about his Ben Solo's middle name Lumpawaru, but it's like Chewie is not that. Chewie comes from a people of solidarity and togetherness, loyalty, and thinking about the world around them and all this stuff that you start to, when you work in canon, you start to think about. Han spends all his time around a non-human who is very unselfish, and I think he serves as a good reminder. It wouldn't surprise me if that happened. Some sort of scolding.
But to finish my train of thought, so no one gets mad at me. That is my take with a lot of Gen X Star Wars fans. Is I don't want to get involved in this, but I hate you're all bullying the other generations, and you don't realize that you're now the villains. And so, I'm going to turn my Millennium Falcon around, and absolutely, if I'm not taking the shot at you, I'm going to have someone else take that shot because we're all clear, kid. We're going home. And that's my problem with Gen X Star Wars fans. And it is tied a lot to Han. I kind of didn't even realize that till you were talking about it.
It is.
I'm
and
not
it's
going
like,
to sit around here and watch more prequel kids who are, by the way, in their 30s now continue to get pushed around by a generation that completely misread or misremembers the trilogy. Again, not everyone.
of course.
Generally speaking, comments, keep your comments away if it's not you. I have a lot of Gen X Star Wars fans like me, but
to keep it on Han, though, it's like, it's not that they had these thoughts. It's that, unlike Han Solo, they've never reevaluated them. You know, they've never dropped whatever illusion they're holding on to. It has. It's not, because it's like, I also made Jar Jar jokes when I was a child. It's like, and I'm a prequel kid. Like, we did, even in the generation. We just came around faster. Part of that's the internet, et cetera, et cetera. But there's this, like, it's these culturally accepted things that, because we say them a lot, we expect them to just be true. And it works in all directions. Sometimes things that get treated as darker and more serious get remembered a certain way. The opposite is true. You know, this is not for this conversation, but like a good example from the same era is like Ghostbusters being remembered as like a family comedy, where it's like, I mean, like, it could be watched by families, but it really isn't. Like, there's some R-rated jokes. There's some stuff that only grown-ass dads would have thought was interesting. There's a lot of political, bureaucratic stuff. There's a lot of, like, it's like, but my whole childhood, people,
go ahead.
People mention it in the same breath as E.T. for my whole childhood, and it's like, what? No, it's not. It's not that at all.
Yes.
That I think happens to Star Wars a lot. And
absolutely.
It's just about looking and saying, like the character does, have I misjudged this? Have I been going the wrong way? So much so that, like, he created a tradition, not just visually and attitudinally, but like so much so that we almost expect all of our Star Wars rogues now to have a heart of gold. And when they don't, it's more surprising now.
The John Denard of it all.
Exactly. Writers now have had to be like, no, he's actually terrible, and we need to convince you of that. DJ was a huge, the first one, I think.
Right.
That in Last Jedi, you expect Benicio, it's Benicio, he'll help him out.
Yeah.
And then he screws them and gets so many people killed.
Maybe.
That's Han. That's what Han could have been. You know? And Han gunning down Beckett is directorially a moment of incredible restraint, and actually more in terms of writing. They could have had Woody Harrelson be like, "I told you, kid, always shoot first." Like, we avoided a much more tropey, cliche version of that, but it happens in a way that's like, yes, if you know, you know, of course. It's like, yes, he shoots first.
Yeah,
but it means a lot. But there's this guy over here, and he guns down what he could be, the worst version.
Exactly. He is shooting himself for that scene. He's making a better choice, and he is learning exactly who he needs to be when he later on walks into that cantina. That's absolutely what's going on there. And
which I will also say is a thing that I think Han. You know, I know we're wrapping up, so I'll make this one of my last points. But like Han being, like I've said before, not connected to the magic in himself. I mean, we all know the Force moves through everybody. Yes. Will I entertain the theories that maybe the Force has something to do with his reflexes? Whatever. Sure. Yeah. Sure, man. Sure. Hit me up on Blue Sky. We could talk about whether or not, you know, Han is really that good. I don't know. But it's just like the characters that aren't connected to the magic still have to go through the fantasy elements, right? Like Frodo's not a wizard, but he still has to hit all the points that like anyone would in that world. And for people like Han, it's hard to put them in situations that accomplish those key trials of the soul, because Han can't go into something like the dark side cave because of the nature of his character. That beach is Han's dark side cave. And it's the same thing as like for another character, Cassian Andor, when at the end of the Aldani job, when he realizes what Skeen is about to do, and he's horrified and he guns him down. instinctively just shoots him. Those moments are sisters. Like those two moments are these two guys being like, oh, I'm a bad choice away from being that. And they shoot them down. And yes, cowboys, yes, criminals, all that stuff. But like, it's that moment of like, I can't be this. It's going into the cave and everything in a different way. It happens with all the Star Wars characters, whether that's a magical Jedi character or not. And you know, the Kessel Run is the moment that makes the legend that he attached himself to. But it's the beach against Beckett that really makes the man, and he's in pain, and he doesn't know that then. Chewbacca probably knows that then, puts the hand on it. But it's interesting, and again, I know it was Solo. You touched on it. Like, people won't always like that. It's he got his blaster, ship, best friend, vest, and his key rival in Lando all in one movie, and I get that. But I would say, as a last note, as a last plea, consider knowing that he is a goofy dork, kind of creating this character as he goes along. I see why that's a criticism for some people, but in a glass half full type of way, I also think it's a really big positive, because who amongst us has not encountered the guy that's still talking about that touchdown from senior year? The Kessel Run being the thing that he constantly touts, and it's a thing that happened right at the beginning, says a lot about the myth of Han Solo. Is that he's holding on to the week where he was on the ship with his first girlfriend that he wasn't over until he met Leia. Like, it colors the whole conversation about the Kessel Run in like a, brother, did you peak in high school type of way that I think is good. Like, it's good for the character that he's still like, yeah, the Kessel Run. And Chewbacca's like, that was 10 years ago, man. 10 years.
We're going to do more, man. We're going to do more, brother. We're going to do more. We can make better choices. Nah, love it. Well said. Time to wrap it up. A lot of things left on the table. You know, so many things to say about this character. Just quickly, though, some of your favorite little Han Solo moments. We don't need to rank them. Don't need to go dive in deep, but curious about the things that make you love Han even a little more.
I always give a shout out to, in Daniel Jose Older's last shot, when he attempts to speak to a Gungan and, thinking that it's the right thing to do, tries to put on a Gungan accent, which is like definitely, you know, Daniel being a Latinx writer, creating a moment of like, this has definitely happened to everybody that has an accent. Right. And Han, but he means well, and he's such a doofus about it that the Gungan's like, look, man, you don't have to do that. Like, he just saves him. The Gungan just saves him from further embarrassment. I always love that. I always love in Force Awakens when it's the you know, the Kanja Club and the Guavians and everything's happening, and when Han says, you know, I'll do what I always do, talk my way out of it, and Chewie roars and he goes, yes, I do, every time. That's the moment when I knew we were back. Everyone has that moment in Force Awakens when they knew we were back. That for me, I mean, I was gonna say Foe. Finn and Poe in the TIE Fighter was probably the thing. But when Harrison says yes, I do, every time, I was like, oh my God. Yeah,
I agree with that.
He's perfect. So those are two that I always think about.
Wonderful, wonderful moments. Yeah, so many in there for me. It could fill the thing. But I don't know. It's Empire, as much as, you know, Jedi's the first Star Wars film I really see, right, in theaters in '83, and so there's so much about Han in that film I love and all stuff. But it's later on when I see Empire, and it is the I'll see you in hell. It is the fierce determination to help those around him, to go back for Leia, to get her out in the Vulcan and all those things. But it's also the vulnerability. You know, I love you, I know, comes into play a lot, and it should. But it's kind of these quiet moments between him and Leia, including the kiss, but including post-torture. They didn't even ask me any questions. I love seeing kind of Han bruised a little bit, because it's a little peek into who he really is and eventually does become. And I love those little moments along the way.
I mean, and if you want to talk Empire and talk generational, so many people got angry about the alteration to the Greedo scene that they forget that our boy still shoots first when it really counts in Empire. He doesn't get a shot off on Vader because of course he doesn't, but it's just like he saw what is quite possibly the scariest being in the known galaxy, and the second the door opens, he's like, I gotta fight him.
You gotta fight him.
That guy's still there. He immediately fires at something that he can't even conceive of the level of darkness and power and all that. And that to me says more than the direct circumstances of what happened with Greedo. He is still a shoot first guy, and you know, again, we're trying to get out of here, but like the Leia stuff, you and I could do another hour on how watching their romance informed us as romantics and as people and as what we're looking for and all that stuff. And I mean, you know, he's just he's genius in that movie. Harrison's genius in that movie.
Yeah, well, to your point, it just means don't worry, everyone. Han still shot first. You still have that. If that's the shirt you want to wear, you still have that there. Much more discussed. And I will be having a Romance is Why We Love Star Wars episode very soon. That's actually in the works, so stick around for that. And I'm sure Han and Leia are going to come up in that one there. But an absolute pleasure hanging out with you here, talking about a character that you and I both love. We share this love of Han Solo. So many things to get to. I normally end the show by giving you a chance to, you know, put yourself over, check your links, but everyone should be watching Anytime with Ken and Alden, live 11 a.m. at the Pacific on our YouTube channel every Friday. But when are you getting back into the Star Wars game, man? When do I have to start chewing you and telling you to turn this Falcon around?
Very soon is what I've been saying. I will say that I'm going to bring back the podcast. It's not going to be called Octo Radio anymore, but it is going to be very Han infused. There's going to be a lot of Han there. And if you go back into the Octo Radio archive, there's a lot of good Han related interviews, I will say. He's always had a presence in there. I think for both of us, like, you listen to any of our shows, you're going to hear some Han. He's in our humor. You know, when people mispronounce Alden, I feel like Han in Solo when he's like, it's Han, but that's okay. Like, I always feel like I got to tell people, no, it's not Alden, but
Alden.
Like, that's fine.
That's perfect.
So, yeah, Anytime with Ken and Alden, Casually Talk, where we talk about House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings. We have that going together as well.
Yep.
Basically, I hang out with Ken, and then I work my day job, and then I hang out with Ken.
Lucky you.
In a lot of ways, I'm your Han, and you're my Chewie. Or vice versa.
All right. You are the dog. I am the lovable, loyal Wookiee. That is it. Thanks for listening here, everybody, to Blank is Why We Love Star Wars. You can check out the previous episodes, which include a look at Jar Jar Binks, a look at Solo, a Star Wars story, and a whole lot more. Check out the playlist at the end of the episode if you're watching on YouTube, or seek it out on the podcast feed. Don't forget, you can get merch at Fourth Wall or at TeePublic Shops, linked down below on YouTube. So if you want to find a quick way to get there, do that. You can support us directly at patreon.com/ForceCenter. Get into our Discord over there. Follow me at Ken Napzok for the rest of the things I'm doing, but that's it for this week. We'll see you next time. And Han, love you, man. We love you.